My neighbor's kid is loud. He is a being poised to not let a single person in my neighborhood get a wink of sleep. So, what do you do when you can't sleep? You talk about anime into the darkness, of course. Hello, everybody. My name is Gaius, and it is a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to have you here. Today, we will be talking about a very interesting anime that, by all means and purposes, is a classic and continues to have a huge influence, not only in anime specifically, but across all of the mediums related to it. I'm talking, of course, about Gunbuster and its sequel, alright, Buster. They were both recommended to me, a complete newbie to the mecha genre, and I must say that I was very impressed and I like it a lot. So, before getting into discussing the actual series, yes, you should watch it. It's very fun. It's also very short. The first Gunbuster and Buster barely take like 2 hours in total to finish, maybe a little bit more, and I promise a good time, especially in terms of animation and action, though there's far more than just that. There's a lot of heart to the series that I will now talk about. So, what is Gunbuster and Buster? Basically, Gunbuster is this very Starship Trooper esque story where a race of aliens that resemble insects, which are literally called like space monsters, um, basically try to eradicate humankind, and humankind is trying to explore the universe, and so these bugs, these aliens, are trying basically to destroy us. You know, it's a classic man versus alien type of story. But what it's also is, it's this sort of this coming of age story about this girl called Noriko, and she starts the series as this very motivated, but also not particularly talented girl in the field of operating giant mechas, because of course we need mechas. And she's very sporty, she's very dedicated, she's incredibly hardworking, and she's very charismatic. And but she doesn't have any particular talent operating these giant robots. So that eats away at at her consciousness, but also the fact that her father was a huge hero of for the world and this very big figure, and so the weight of expectation and the fact that everybody thinks that she uses her connections to get ahead in the world really stands against her being able to succeed. And it may sound like I'm being very dramatic with the plot of Gunbuster. And yes, Gunbuster can be a little bit melodramatic sometimes, but that's part of the charm. Gunbuster, the original Gunbuster, came out in 1985, and it has all of the charm you can expect from any anime that came out in that period, from the art style to the music to the facial expressions, especially the character designs of like the other pilots. It just screams 80s. And even with all of the cliches and the music, the super stereotypical music, uh, it's an incredible series. It's very short, like I say. It may sound like I'm overstating, but it's such a refreshing, light watch. And it has a lot of interesting concepts that are not shoved in your face. It's definitely not the most fleshed out science fiction setting, but that's not what it attempts to do. What it is the story of a girl finding confidence and learning the skills with which to become basically a mecha hero. And if that sounds appealing, it's because it is. It's done very well. And like I said, the original show is barely 6 episodes, and you can finish in under 2 hours. I really recommend it. I think it's a very fun series. And episode 6 in particular is probably one of the most interesting and well directed finales I've seen, because you can clearly tell that it was directed by Hideaki Anno, of course, who many people know, who almost everybody in the anime fandom knows because of his magnum opus, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And you can clearly tell that towards the final episode, he really got to flex his director muscles, which If you're familiar with his work, you know that he's very good at the helm of director, not only in the anime medium, but also in live action. I urge you to pick up one of Hideaki Anno's live action movies. They're excellent. But of course, Gunbuster doesn't stand alone. Gunbuster has a sequel, Aim for the Top 2, Gunbuster 2, more commonly known by the fandom and by everyone as Die Buster, which is a very different type of story, but a very fitting one because it reflects Studio Gainax at a very different time. This is more fully coolly Studio Gainax than early 90s or late 80s Studio Gainax. Definitely a different type of anime, and yet it feels weirdly cohesive with the original Gunbuster. This one is a story of this girl called Nono, who's like a country girl who wants to become a space pilot. And she constantly talks like, "Oh, I want to be space pilot like Nonoriri," which I won't talk about the details of what that means, but let me tell you that when it comes to payoff, Die Buster, I'd say, even exceeds the original Gunbuster. So Die Buster is weird. It is very weird, but I say that in a very, very good way because it takes place like thousands, more than 10,000 years after the original Gunbuster, but it still follows the world. It still follows the developments of humankind after the original Gunbuster. And so we have reached out into the stars. And our culture has definitely become much more disjointed. As a result, you have more outlandish character designs. You have more exaggerated everything, really. But like I said, it really does resemble Fully Cooley a lot. And as somebody who enjoys Fully Cooley quite a lot, I was very pleased with the way in which they chose to show us, with the art direction and everything. Let me tell you this straight up: the action in Die Buster is insane. It really is that sort of over the top insanity and those amazing Sakuga cuts that only anime can do. If there's if a friend of you or somebody you know asks you why do you like anime, show them Die Buster, show them the action in Die Buster, and they will understand, or at least they will understand you. They will understand your love for the medium because if there's something that Gunbuster and Die Buster have both reminded me, it's why I like anime. It's because anime can take these weird, insane ideas and execute them with this high production values. And anime isn't the most expensive uh, type of medium to produce. Hell, some of the most expensive anime of all time, stuff like Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, doesn't nearly match the budget of the most expensive TV shows of all time, of course. But it still feels like a high production, like a high value production because it is. They are. The music, the voice acting, everything is done with such an excellent way. It's done with such excellence that you can't help but love it. And I'm really glad that I got to watch both Gunbuster and Die Buster. So if you're interested in seeing cute and very attractive girls go at it in space against giant aliens, then I really recommend both Gunbuster and Die Buster. They really show the strengths of Studio Gainax, and they're both an essential piece of anime media. One that I feel that if you like to be knowledgeable about anime, because being an anime fan is pedantic. You can be an anime fan regardless of what you watch. But if you want to know about the history of anime and about the things that have inspired great, important pieces within the medium, stuff like Gurren Lagann, stuff like even Eureka 7, any mecha really that came out after Gunbuster was influenced in some shape, way, or form by the techniques and the way in which it was made. Of course, Gunbuster itself being inspired by many of the things that came before it. So overall, Gunbuster and Diebuster are a short, quick, and very fun time. And if you find yourself with nothing to do, or even if you have things to do, because that's one of the wonderful things about anime, it can help you take your mind off things. You should give Gunbuster and Diebuster a try. I did so. I went in blind. I had absolutely no expectations, and I know nothing of the mecha genre, and yet I still came out loving them. So, if you want an insane ride with fan service in every meaning of the word. Gunbuster and Diebuster will give you fan service, and it will shove it down your throat. But that's a very, very good thing. And you can tell from every frame of both the original with its lack of money evident in like the film grain and the new one with its insane animation that you can tell that the animators had a lot of fun. And there's nothing more heartwarming than to watch a production, a piece of entertainment, a story, and realize the people making this, they had fun. And with that, I leave you. Thank you for listening all the way through, and I hope you have nothing short of a wonderful every day. My name is Gaius, and I'll see you in the next one. If you'd like to hear more of my ramblings, I have 2 videos up in the channel. Go check them out, and I'll see you later.